In today's video, traders, we're going to be talking about ways to spot the end of a very strong trend and to jump on board the start of a very strong reversal. Let's get into the video right now. Welcome back, traders, to another one of my videos. My name is Nick, also known as Trader Nick. I make all sorts of trading educational content here on YouTube for free. I do ask if you're a newer trader or even an advanced trader, if you have gained some sort of value from the channel, make sure you subscribe down below and join me in future videos by clicking that notification bell down below to get alerts for when my new educational content comes out. Let's talk about today's concept, which is going to be talking about reversals on big trending markets. Now, if you're watching this video recently, or and this is a recent video, then you've noticed that we've had some really big trends going on in the Forex market, especially with the GBP pairs, which have been trending very strongly with everything going on with Brexit, right? So all of these markets are trending really, really strongly, but how can you actually spot when those trends are going to reverse? People keep asking me, Nick, when is the pound going to rise? And here in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about some ways that you can actually kind of spot the start of a big reversal. Now, it's not going to work every single time. Of course, there's no guaranteed way to kind of spot what's going on with the market or when it's going to potentially reverse perfectly, but we can look for high probability setups that can give us a good chance of being on the right side of the trade if we manage our risk properly. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to jump into the chart here. We've got USD Canadian pulled up here, and here's what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and zoom in right close up to this concept right here. What you can see here is that we're looking at USD Canadian on the 4-hour time frame. Now, a lot of the trends that we've been recently seeing have been happening on the 4-hour, the daily, even the weekly time frame, as trends have been very, very strong in the recent kind of trading that's been going on in the currency market. Now, looking at USD Canadian, you can see that this move is a massive move to the upside. Not much of a pullback at all here. You can see very little pullback here as price just continues to push higher without much of an impulsive, there's our impulse, there's our correction. Very small kind of corrections here in this market. Now, here's the thing, guys. Sometimes in the currency market, we start to see those monster trends that start to unfold. And that trying to get on the reversal side of these things can actually be a really, really painful subject for a lot of traders as they try to fight the trend. In fact, a lot of times this is where we see stop hunts come into play, right? We have retail traders trying to kind of short this market along the way up, right? And they keep getting stopped out. They're shorting this market all along the way, and the market keeps rising against them, and they don't know why they're losing over and over and over again. Well, in this video, my goal is to talk about maybe some ways to use confirmation to your advantage and to wait for some actual signs that the trend may be ending soon. With that said, again, this concept here of this market moving without much of a break, if you were trying to short this market over and over again, this would be a rough kind of game to play, right? Because again, every single time you try and short, the market keeps pushing higher and it keeps stopping you out. And this is not on accident. Actually, this is how some of those monster trends actually get going, is people are trying to short it and they keep stopping out, which causes more buying and more buying, because whenever you are short and you stop out, you're actually buying back your position, right? So that causes more buying on top of the already bullish push that we're getting, right? So when that's happening on this market, guys, what can you do? How can you look for actual signs that the market is actually going to reverse and we might actually see a full-blown, down movement off of this market, right? Again, people get very frustrated trying to, fight the move on the way up, and they want to look for that reversal, but they don't know where to look for it. Well, in this video, again, we're going to be talking about some ways to do that. And here is kind of our first clue. Again, we talked about the fact that this market has been moving to the upside. Momentum is a very strong thing in the currency market, right? So as prices move up, a lot of times you're going to get those kind of longer term pushes or those trend following people who are going to look to get involved and buy the breakouts, buy the pullbacks. That's a very powerful thing, guys. And eventually that will end, but a lot of times it won't end right away. So we want to be patient. We want to look for a good opportunity. Trading Forex is all about creating high probability scenarios for your trading. You don't just want to try and win on every single trade. You also just want to be patient enough to only take the trades that present themselves and meet your criteria, as well as give you an actual good chance of success. So Again, we see this market here has been rising very, very strongly to the upside. The trend is up. The buyers are stepping in and pushing this price up and up and up, and all the sellers are getting stopped out along the way. But here is where I want to kind of draw you guys' attention. What you can see is we actually kind of halted here. And this was our first sign of a strong potential chance for a reversal. Now, what you can see is that we were trending up, right? We made that sharp movement to the upside. Forgive my lack of artistic skills. You can see as price was trading up, there was not much of a pullback here. No signs that sellers were actually in control of this market or that they were going to have a stab at this. But then we saw something interesting here. Notice right around here, we got a nice little triple top. Then we saw something even more interesting. So that was our first sign of kind of consolidation. So we went from a market that was moving to the upside to a market environment where we started to see prices trading sideways, right? What does that mean? Does it mean that markets are going to come crumbling down right away? Not necessarily. In this case, it did work out. But this is telling us that buyers are pausing, right? Buyers are not necessarily done buying, but they're taking a break, meaning that they no longer have the fuel to continue at this very moment. Now, there might be some sort of fundamental news, or there might be some sort of kind of pullback that gives us, gives buyers a chance to get involved. But at the very time, this right here, this consolidation phase, at this very time, we're reading that price is not continuing higher, because fuel might be running low for buyers. This can be our first sign of a potential reversal in the market, right? So next up, what did we see? Not only did we start to form a triple top here, you can actually see that we did have some sort of support structure right here, right? So we did have buyers kind of holding this level here. Again, markets chopping back and forth. But what we see next is really, really indicative of what might have happened next. You can see that we did get I'll clear this chart up a little bit. Look at this candle right here. A very strong bearish move. Now, notice something about this market, guys. All along the way, we saw no or little to no kind of red candles. In fact, very few red candles at all presented themselves here in this market. We had a little bit here, we had a little bit here, right? A little bit here, but then we finally actually saw some bearish sentiment come into the market right here when this particular candle printed. This is a bearish engulfing candle. If you don't know what a bearish engulfing candle is, you can check out my video on bearish engulfing candles here. Definitely check that out if you have not already heard about that. One of my favorite candlestick patterns, a very powerful candlestick pattern. Make sure you check that video out. Again, back to the concept here, we can see that this candle printed a very strong evidence of sellers being involved in this area and really validated kind of our concept here of this triple top that we had been seeing, right? So this multiple top high here really showed its strength when sellers stepped in and pushed this price down with this bearish engulfing candle that we see here. Now, what next? This gives us a little bit different market environment than what we were working with before. Remember, we talked about the fact that this market had little to no pullbacks. Then this market started to show us kind of indecision, but this market here, right? This right here gives us a little bit more to play with. This gives us the idea that sellers are strong in this area. And now, does it mean that they have to make this market come crumbling down? No, there's no such thing as have to or must or guarantees in trading Forex or any market for that matter. But there are clues that the market can give you that will give you a higher probability of success. And in the end, that's the name of the game, guys. So what we saw here is a big red candle that gave us evidence that sellers were active in this area and they may still be in this area. So as price kind of found its way kind of pulling back up into this area, this is where we see our next potential sign that the market is really going to reverse. We see a lower high. Right? So all along the way, another thing that we saw is that this market was forming higher highs. But really what was significant is right here, you can see that we did form a lower high. This was a huge signal that the market, had seller presence, right? When we see that lower high form, that's where things really get interesting. Now, if I clear this up and kind of, we'll come back a little bit more fresh with a fresh sketch pad. Again, we formed that lower high, which was a huge indication, right, that this market had sellers involved. The next thing that we saw, the next sign of reversal, and this is really where things got interesting. And some people even trade this style right here. They identified this level of support, right? This is kind of the line in the sand for buyers. And when it breaks that level, some people will be aggressive enough to trade a breakout or, break down in this case, of this market and to ride that newfound trend. And what you can see is in this case, guys, we did ultimately get a very strong bearish rejection as price continued lower from that point. Now, that's kind of an early sign, guys. What you can see is kind of a bigger picture. If we also draw some shapes, you can see that this area here formed a nice consolidation top across the top, right? We can see that along the way, overall, we formed kind of a nice little pause or congestion zone that ultimately turned into a full-blown reversal. And there were some signs in there that I hope you caught. If you didn't, make sure you go back and watch those again about those particular things that told us that the market had a good chance of reversing. Now, there's all sorts of concepts about reversals, but this is one way that I really like to look at the end of a very strong trend forming into kind of reverse or congestion and ultimately into a big reversal. Guys, I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks so much. I've got more videos for you to check out here on the YouTube channel. Again, thanks so much. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up. We'll see you next time.